Welcome to part 6 of this multi-part series and how I developed this mixed media work. Today we're going to work on the background, particularly with acrylics, and how I use stencils to help me develop and activate the background. Okay, everything looks really good in regards to the gradation, and it's fully dry. And so now I can start to try to activate the background. And there are a variety of ways of activating the background. You can just put some more washes on it. You could do some drawing or painting. You could do some marks on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add some color to this background that complements the color that I have on this piece right now. So if you recall, we came up with this color scheme. Okay, so if I separate the color scheme, this will be the warm colors and this will be the cool colors. And so what I'll do is I'll match the value by using either black or white to change the value. These are little earthy tones, so black is going to be okay. It's not going to hurt the color. And I think this is the colors that I'm going to use for my color palette. So I'll start with yellow, this raw sienna. I'll use some of this cadmium orange. And then for the cools, I'm going to use a cobalt blue, some permanent violet, and some alizarin crimson. So these are my warm side, this is my cool side, this is my dark, and this is my light. So in order to activate this background, I like to use some stencils that I bought. And so I have this variety of stencils, and I have these stencils here, which are geometric patterns, and I'm going to put those geometric patterns through the center. And then I have these more organic patterns, flowery, Art Nouveau-ish patterns, and I'll be putting those on top and bottom. So let's see what I can do as far as finding the appropriate one. This is a little too busy. I find that a little bit too busy. That one's nice. It does remind me a little bit of kimono and Japanese patterns on their kimonos. This one's a little bit too much, too broad. So far this one's winning the race here. Little too geometric. I like the angles on this. That's pretty nice, but perhaps it echoes the shape of the tree, though. You can see it echoes the shape of the tree, but maybe too much. I think that let's just put that there for now. Again, too busy. Here's something very simple. This is very simple, and this is very simple. And a little bit easier to do, a little broader strokes in here. So perhaps that. It's a little bit too crowded, no geometric. And then I have these kind of random and then a kind of an exploding one. So I think we're down to these three. And I think I really like this one, and I really like that one. But this one really gives some nice counters, and I like these dots on there. So let's use that one. This is just really random kind of thought. Okay, so I'm going to use this for my center pattern. How am I going to use for the top pattern? Well, I've got tons of these and tons of these. This is really kind of busy. This one's kind of busy. This one's got a nice flow to it. Let's see. This one's a little bit too busy. So I'm going to say these are too busy for now. This is when you want to put in like a specific flower area. I might use this later. Oh, that's nice. That's one I haven't used either. So these two are real nice. Again, these are nice to put in flowers. And this is too consuming. So why don't I use both of these, but I'll use this one on the bottom, this pattern on the bottom. No, this pattern on top and this pattern on the bottom. More grassier type of area, more flowing like water, a little bit more like wind. And then the juxtaposed against geometric. So let's go with that. Okay, so I laid out my palette, cool over here, warm over here, light to dark. And I'll probably use a lot of white, so that's why I put a lot of white. This is all acrylic paint. Okay, so let's see what we can do. First, we're starting with the geometric shape that I have here. Okay, so let's start in the center, and I'll go outward. Now I don't care. Again, I'm trying to be very free form in this, so I'm not going to get too meticulous in regards to how accurate this is, or if it's a little bit messy or not. It's not going to bother me at all. I'm going to paint and then I'm going to respond to it. So let's try that out. So let's get a little bit over in this negative space. Now this is that yellowish area, so I want to use that very light purple color as I mix it. I am going to go on the light side here. Yeah, that matches the color pretty good. Okay, yeah, I think that works. I'm going to do some overlapping too of my original image. So this will be the lightest area. Again, some overlapping of the original image. It's okay. This is a lot of fun. All right. I actually think I could have gone maybe a little bit lighter, not much. Let's match this up a little bit and continue this, but I'm going to go a little darker now. And I'm going to muddy it just a tiny bit with the black. Yeah, that seems to match my pattern. That's too light. I mean, too dark. So now I made it lighter. But I think I can go darker now as I go outward. And I'm going right through the kanji. Excuse me. I'm not trying to be too meticulous with it. I like how the paper lightened out in this area, so I am going to change the values to some extent. All right. That's kind of cool. And right at the edge, I'm going to go a little dark. The reason being is you kind of vignette a bit. Meaning darker at the edges and corners. You see there? It's still in line with the color scheme. It's just a little bit more pronounced right at the edge. It's okay, the paper's going to shine through still. All right. So you see this idea of allow yourself to cover your paint, to be bold in regards to your work. It's okay to be a little messy, be a little bit daring in what you're doing, because what you're trying to do, excuse me, you're trying to activate your creativity, and a lot of times that creativity really comes in problem solving. Yeah, I think again I'm going to vignette a little bit towards the edge. I am modulating my values though, going light and dark, trying to stay within the same value. I'm probably much higher in value, or if you talk about keys, darker, lower in value than the actual paper. That's okay. All right. This is part of this idea. And I'm going to do a little bit on top. Let's bring it in a lot lighter, almost like the sun's shining on it on top a little bit. Let's see how that looks. Do you see that? That could be something very exciting. We also want to interplay this with the organics. And all I'm doing is I'm activating the background. I'm going to have to be a little careful in this area because I don't want to wipe the kanji out. I think I'll lighten it up a little bit. So I'll be a little more careful here. You can be as exact as you want or inexact as you want when you're doing mixed media and you're playing this game of destruction and recovery. It's essentially what I'm doing is I'm sort of destroying the image and then recover the image, destroy the image and recover the image. To me, it's sort of the heart of creativity. Is this self-evaluation, this visual evaluation of what you're doing. I imagine musicians do the same thing. They play a set of chords, the chords don't sound right, they adjust. That's what I'm doing here. I'm adjusting my chords. So throughout this, you're going to be like, that's just crazy. Why would you want to destroy that image like that? Well, mixed media, we're playing around, we're trying to be creative. And I also just want to help you feel comfortable doing something like this. Again, this may not work, but it doesn't matter. I could paint right over it. And and what you'll see is maybe appreciation for how many layers of paint an artist uses, how many, the kind of road they take. Now, there's a classical training that has very, very specific methods, but I'm not doing this. I'm doing much more of a, I guess, postmodern approach to creating something and not academic, though I've had academic training, so I know what that looks like. That's real nice. I think value structure is looking okay. This looks really nice in this area, in that area where I really lightened up the value. So this lower layer, I'm going to put a really light lower area, almost whitish area at the lowest point. I'll start dark at the edges, darker at the edges, and then I'll progressively get lighter. So you can see how I really don't care too much for a real refined look. That's going to come later. Right now I'm just creating. Okay, let's let this dry a little bit, and then I'll move on to the organic top and bottom. Okay, that's sufficiently dry. Now we're going to do this pattern on top. And I think what I want to do here is I really like the red that's up here. So I like the warm. I'm going to go from cool to warm in here. In other words, I'm going to go from the blue that I have. I'm going to muddy it up a little bit so it's similar to the blue that we chose. Here we go. Yeah, that looks about right. But I'm going to warm it up as I go up. So right now, this I'm going to match sort of the color of the other pattern or value of the other pattern, not so much the paper. So let's do this lower section. I'm really kind of overlapping these organics now with the geometrics. You certainly can see how it definitely activates this whole background. This whole pattern starts to become very activated. Lots of energy in it. Sort of a form of abstracting. Now, I wanted to go a little warmer and a little redder on top, so we're going to do that. I'm going to mix that. I think it would have been better if I stayed with the blue and then went into using the blue to darken up into my reds. And so I think I'm going to do that. So a lot more blue, a lot more red. A little black in there. Really get that humming. Okay, that's better, I think. I think that blue really, I think I'm really neglecting the blue. I'm probably starting to overwork the area, but I'm going to put a little more of the more direct blue in there. So again, I'm almost using it, like I said, as mark making, as brush strokes. Kind of like that. Let's get something in the corner here. Again, vignetting in this corner. And let's vignette on this corner. We're not at the stage of nitpicking right now. We will be. This stage we don't nitpick. We just create. Okay. All right. And we'll work the bottom. Okay, so now I'm going to work the bottom. And that's going to be busy like this. But I'm really kind of pushing towards the idea of a little warmer earth tones in here. Maybe a little. Let's use the warm colors here. Let's use these warm colors and develop that green that we had seen before. So again, I'm going to go from lighter to really dark down here, but we're going to do the light first. But this time, I'm going to use some of this raw sienna, but there's a little magic here. If I use the lamp black and then I add yellow to it, it makes a beautiful green. Let's see what we get when I do this. It could be a little bit invisible. No, it's much darker. It's really great to spend some time with color theory. Really do some studying it. Don't just look at something and try to match the color. Do a little color theory and see if you can activate your surfaces better. There's some interesting videos of Matisse painting, and he's just constantly correcting, changing things, and hesitating. That's the beauty of creativity. And that's where we can now do that. We don't have to paint all the same and in, more academic ways. Though, like I said, I'm trained academically, so I enjoy it. But for this, no, I'm just going to let myself go a little bit here. Not a lot of constraint. Okay, so now I'm going to go a little darker. Maybe a little bluer or darker green. I want to make sure I stay within the color scheme. I don't want to go too far out of the color scheme, though. All right. A little dark. Needs to warm up a lot, so I'll put the... Yeah, there we go. If you don't know your color, it's very easy to reconstruct it on your palette. So here's my palette. Now, if I want to make this cooler, I go to this side. So I'll add some of the blue here. I'll add some, like, do you see how that's cooler? If I want it warmer, I'll go on this side. And I'll add some warmer. Do you see this? I don't know if you can see. the difference. Value-wise, they're pretty much the same, but you see this one's warmer, this one's cooler, this is the cup. So if I know it's too warm, I move this direction. If it's too cool, I move that direction. If it's too dark, if it's too light, I move in this direction. You see there? And if it's too dark, I move in that direction. It's the basic idea of mixing on your palette to match what you need here. So I'm actually looking at the green underneath it and the color that's on top of the stencil, and I'm judging. So I put this down here. Oh, well, see, that's way too cool. So I'm going to add some cadmium orange to it to warm it up. Bingo, it matches it again. Compared to this, it's too light. So I'm just going to put a little bit of the black in there. Boom, it matches. And that's the same thing when you're looking outside. You're comparing on your painting. Is that too light, too cool? You look at the sky, you see. Oh, I'm really liking this. This really has got this beautiful flow of water. Yeah, I'm really liking this. And I think the warmness is really working well too. Just put a little bit more of this cadmium orange. You want to buy decent grade paints too, I would suggest, or you're just going to be frustrated. So don't be shy about that as well. But I'm going to really warm that up. See, I'm going to warm it up. I can see it's a little dark. And I'm going to add some yellow. That'll help lighten it up as well. Too light. Darken it up. Don't let anybody ever tell you not to use black. That's a myth. The Impressionists use black all the time. Okay. All right. But I'm going to darken it up with the blue. I'm going to use a little bit of the purple. But I'm going to keep it warm. You see there? I take the blue. I take the violet. But I will keep it warm. Warm and dark. Now you can see I can compare on the stencil itself. It needs to be darker. There we go. Now we're definitely looking at a value shift. High key white, that would be a 0. Low key black, that would be a 10. So you can measure things in numbers as well if that works for you. So I'm working at about an 8 right now. This is 10. This is the 10 black. You can see, compare the two. It's no way it's that dark. Oh, that's really nice. I don't know if you're seeing it on the video like I'm seeing it. I think that's the most successful part of this whole one is this. I have my misgivings about this area. I like this top. This bottom's nice. This area is going to need some work. It's all right. I've never painted this before. This is it. It's not like a formulated painting. It's still a happy tree though. Oh yeah, that looks nice. I like the darkness here. The lightness here isn't as light. Maybe my lighting on it kind of drowns it out a bit, but I think I'm going to darken it up. I wonder if I can match. Yeah, I think there it is. Yeah, I'm really going to darken that up. I think a little more in the 9 range would be nice. Okay, there we go for the bottom. So a little review is I had my color scheme based on the colors that we had developed, my dark to light. I mix my palette based on what my palette is telling me, whether it's warm, cool, light or dark, and that's how I came up with the values on here. I think this should have been a lot lighter. So in the next stage of essentially destroying this image, I'm probably going to go much lighter into this area or much darker in the tree. One of the two. I hope you enjoyed that. Part 7 is what I call loss and gain. This is where I lose the image with the intent of bringing the image back. And I think you'll enjoy this part of the process. I'd really appreciate a like and subscribing to my channel, as well as if you would like to support me, you can do that on Patreon. I often post on Instagram my artwork as well as bonsai work. But I'd like to leave you with the idea that art is a journey. It's important to enjoy the process.